Hotep, and peace and blessings to the family. When we talk about wealth building and teaching future generations, we want to focus on three major things. We want to focus on money, we want to focus on economic philosophy, and we want to focus on values. We'll start with money. Most often, those of us who are older view money as something that has value within itself. And when I tell people money has no value, they laugh at me. But when I ask them, can you eat money? Will it sustain you? Then the brain gets to turning. Money is only a medium of exchange. We use money to exchange things of real value. In ancient times, what did they use? Cowrie shells to exchange things of real value. They couldn't eat the cowrie shells. In prison, in jails, they use stamps, they use cigarettes, carton of cigarettes or what have you, to exchange things of real values. So this is something that we have to instill in our youth and in future generations, that money has no value within itself. This is something to give us an idea on how to have a paradigm shift with regards to money and how it has no value. In fact, land is what really has value, because everything that we see that exists in the universe comes from land. Every single thing. Next, economic philosophy. Too often, we follow the Western economic philosophy that we have been taught. And in terms of business and wealth building, when we think of starting a business, what's the first thing we think of? Getting a loan, a small business loan. Pitching our idea to investors. When we start with this particular economic philosophy, we have already cut into any potential profits that we may be able to amass due to our great idea. If we were to look into some of our ancient practices and some of the practices that are going on right now in present day, Nigeria, for example, does this thing called a susu, in which you may have 5 people who come together and gonna put in $1,000 every month, every 2 months, or what have you. Every month when the money is put in, one of the members are allowed to pool for an investment venture. When he pays the money back, when she pays the money back, there's no interest on that $5,000. But every month, each member will get to pull from those resources in order to invest in something. And they will do this continuously as their investments gets bigger and bigger. But the major point there is no interest to be paid, no investors to get a share of the profits that are received. The profits can go to that family and that family's future generations. Next, we want to take a look at values. Whatever we value, our energy and our resources follow. No matter what you value, your energy and your resources is going to come right behind those values. In speaking with some of those who follow the Western values, scholars, economic gurus, you will hear them tell you about investing in the stock market, in owning a stock prior to your child being born, at least one stock, and then buying so many stocks every year thereafter. For me, that is backwards. I would say, rather than only stock, why not own an acre of land and gift that acre of land rather than a stock? Gift that acre of land to your son or your daughter. And even more, every 3 years, buy them another acre. The average acre in the United States is $3,000. And I'm not talking to you people on the West Coast, because I know land on the West Coast is super alidocious. But the average overall, all the states, is $3,000. So you can spend $3,000 every 3 years $84 a month to buy your child land. So by the time they are 10, they will have 3 to 4 acres of land. Now, why is this important? This is important because by the time they are 10, you can teach them how to till the soil and work the land in their own interest, whereas the land will produce food for them. What's more is, if that same child owns stock in a particular company and then the CEO or the shareholders are not properly operating that company, as that company goes, so does your son or daughter's stock investment. If your son owned the land and had leased the land to that same company, that company could go belly up without necessarily heavily affecting your son or daughter's wealth, because they could just lease the land to the next business owner or the next aspiring entrepreneur. So these are the paradigm shifts that must occur if we are ever really going to build wealth. And you have to build wealth in an independent manner. It cannot be built. And when I say independent, I don't mean doing anything by yourself or doing something solo. We all need each other. But what I mean is disconnecting yourself from a system designed to make you a slave. Trying to be a part of that system and building wealth out of that system is going to be like going in a circle. Of course, you're always going to have extraordinary people that can defy the odds, but we want our wealth building to be the norm. Lastly, I'll leave you with this, and this is something to truly think about. For those of us who experience most of the exploitation of the current system, capitalist system that we are under, and the government that we are under, it is very much in our interest to engage in bartering and trading our products and our services, as opposed to continuing to sell each other our products and services. And here's why. Taxes. Every time I sell you something, I have to pay taxes on it. If that thing costs $100, it's going to cost me at least $7 in sales tax. So if that thing costs $1 million, if that thing costs $1 million, then it's going to cost me $7,000. Or if that thing costs $100,000, it's going to cost me $7,000. If that thing costs $1 million, think of how much it's going to cost you. So dealing with each other in a manner that saves us tax dollars is paramount at this particular time for wealth building. Every nickel, every dime counts, because we are able to pass it on to future generations. And whether we know it or not, for those of us who would say that slavery does not or did not affect us, the very reason that many of our bosses now are our bosses is because they are the sons and daughters of former slave owners. One of the studies that was done by even Western institution was that the most likely road to riches is through inheritance.